Recording in progress. Oh, I guess this is in practice, huh? Oh, I'm in a practice session. Are you coming or what? All right, cool. Well, it's there. I got it started in the practice session, and supposedly we start in a minute.
Oh, I got me.
Yeah, okay, come on. Uh-oh.
Computer.
Hey, there
Man.
you go.
No, he can't see you because you're. Oh yeah, look at what Wade's got. Okay, hold on. Hold that.
In the MACEMAN's
I'm just
honor.
going to choose virtual background.
The MACEMAN.
Oh, dude, we loaded that stuff and I didn't get that done.
The tournament at the island, me and Lauren.
Can you hear us?
Yes, I sure can.
Okay, wait, I can't. Oh,
What?
there you go. There you go. So we've got, first of all, there's Wayne. And
What's up, dude?
You can see some discs in the background.
I think I met you before. I think I bought a couple of discs off you one time you were on the island, and you were generous enough to come over and go over to your car and sell us a couple of discs. So you always
right on, yeah.
Good books.
I've been known to do that time or two.
Yes, I think so. I think I never heard bad about you.
Especially for the MACEMAN doubles, man. Sharp as attack on that one. Here, pull up a chair.
Yeah.
So we're in practice mode right now. So I haven't enabled a lot that. So do you want to just roll with him the whole hour?
Yeah, I'll start us up. I got a little script to go and then his intro.
Yeah, just ask me questions because I
and then we can
I can't follow it.
Bounce from there. What now? So did you respond? Or did you have
No, I mean I walked right in and started this.
Do you want to take a quick look at it? Oh wait, that's not it.
Does MACEMAN like the backdrop here?
Does MACEMAN like the backdrop? This is an altar of Frisbee.
That's beautiful, dude. That's
awesome.
Taking
through boxes, right?
Look at that fairly naked skyline of Toronto right there.
Yeah, where's all the high rises?
Right?
Yeah, they're not there as yet.
So once we go live, I'm gonna pick this up and we're gonna take a look at some of those objects and some of the discs. And
that's
back
a great
here,
idea.
Back here, there's a couple, there's stories worth of stuff.
This is a tournament that I had in 81.
1981. And right up here is the disc, right where my finger is.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
They chose the glow because they added the most chemicals to make it the heaviest.
Right.
They were looking for the heaviest type Frisbee. And so they chose the glow because it was the heaviest. Could have been any other. Like imagine if it was black that was filled with like blood tinctures or something that would weigh it down, you know?
There was black involved, though.
That's nice.
So we've got he's got, I mean, dude, there's just in talking the endless conversations I've had, well, not even endless, but
I played since like the
finite
70s, the late 70s, right? So I got
he knows like he knows Westerfield.
Oh yeah,
from 73.
I did shows with Westerfield.
He did shows with them in 73. You remember meeting Kenner,
That's
right?
amazing.
When you knew Gail?
Oh yeah, I went to the 79 tournament in London too. Yeah. Well, I knew all those. Elaine King, when she started playing, I remember her.
Elaine King, before this, she was the queen.
Yeah.
Like seriously.
It's all the guys before they were the kings and queens.
Yeah.
We used to call Brian Honeyga the hobo. That was our nickname for him, the hobo, because he'd always look disheveled and stuff, right?
Oh, I love it. Oh,
yeah, that was our nickname, Lauren and I.
That's
the
freaking perfect. Oh my god!
You never knew that?
No, I never knew that. I just
never knew what.
Honeyga.
Got me looking at my phone.
Honeyga. So he called himself Guru, and we just called him Goopy. But these guys had their own nickname for him. Yeah. They called him the Hobo.
Because he would never play with anyone, right? He was always like
a guy
course bro coming through, course bro.
Oh yeah, right. Fuck off. Oh, sorry.
That's all right. All right, so you want to go live with this?
Okay, hold on. Let me just fill
That's
up the drink here.
That's kind of what I would tell him, right?
Okay. Do you have any one disc that you want to hold with you?
It's not really. Well, I got that.
Grab your disc.
I got a 1987 signed by Greg Ospel when he won that 87
Oh,
Canadian.
were you there?
Oh yeah, I played in that tournament. I think.
We have to dwell on.
Was he there?
Excited.
Check this out. The only
No, he just got the disc.
1982. I came in second place here. Look at the size of the trophy.
Okay,
Hey, you
so
ready to go live?
we are ready to go live.
All right.
All right, I just click live on Facebook
Tell me when.
and it looks as though it's working.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome
Hold
to.
on.
Oh,
We're not out of practice mode though.
okay, okay. Got a little excited there. Just give me the cue.
Yeah, now
All right, welcome to episode 6 of the podcast Good Times Hour. This we call Vibing with the Rubber Man. This is basically a history of Frisbee, freestyle, and the island with everybody's favorite con. On our first on-site location guest here at wonderful Wayne Manor in the beaches where the vault has been unsealed and you might be able to see it behind me. We will witness the splendor of at least 40 years in the game, more than 40, closing on 50 years in the game. And now, ladies and gentlemen, before, above, and beyond all ado, we are proudly present the next guest of the tea. He's from Trinidad, but he traded in the sun for a toboggan here on the north side of life now. He's that crazy, bendy, smiley, laughy rubber band guy who spreads the sunshine wider than he shanks his drive. He's the elder statesman of freestyle, the master of Frisbee movements, with the energy of a dynamo and the smile of an angel. He's the rad baron of the body roll, the natty duke of the nail delay, the man who puts the guided missile in the guidus. He's the bad boy of a brilliant family, the joker, the smoker, and the midnight disc thrower, who is as high on hash as he is on life, and everyone loves him for it. Please put your hands together for my dear friend and veritable vault of Frisbee culture, Wayne Rubber Band Man Con.
Thank you, Paul. Thank
nice.
Welcome to the show, my friend.
Wow. So has it ever been quite like that for you, Wayne?
I am a guy that's never on the computer or anything like that, so I'm always hidden.
Yeah,
No. I was just talking about the roasting you just got.
Oh no, that's I'm accustomed to that stuff. Oh, come on.
No, it's funny.
I can dish it up pretty good myself, so I probably deserve it.
Pretty good with that. But there have been times on the island where you and Joel and Souls have come down and asked for their own intros for their freestyle.
Oh yeah,
I've written a few on the
generous
fly.
enough to do that for us. So.
Did a couple on the fly for him. So, but this is all about you, Wayne Con. For those who don't know him, and many people don't because you fly way under the radar. But you've been involved in Frisbee action in the city, in the province for almost 50 years now.
I played for 50 years for sure.
Played for 50 years.
But I'm
Well, that's
almost
involved.
70 now, right? So
I mean, that's like we're talking early 70s, taking it back as far as the old school will go.
I even had the trophy back there from 1973 from the Canadian Open right there behind us.
So we are going to have to do a little tour of this as we go. But MACEMAN, this is one of your first times. I mean, I know you guys have met before, but this is your first
time,
kind
yeah.
of sitting down face to
Exactly.
face. And Mace, you've had some interesting times on the island too. But whatever story you got, he's got the same story that goes way back even further.
Yeah, I remember when all those guys started playing, right? Yeah. And the very first tournament that I went to, the golf tournament, I was already a freestyler for 2 years before that. So I went to the tournament and I met Bob Blakely, who was the Canadian champ at the time, right? He was my friend. And I got there late with my wife. And then we went to play and we got to the first hole, number 9, and he goes to me, oh, don't shoot it through this gap, shoot it through the other one. And I shot it through there and I got a hole in one on the very first tournament on the island. My first shot of the round.
After getting coached into it, huh?
Oh my God. Now, did they have ace pools back then?
No, I hadn't even invented. It's the first tournament on the island. Ace pools, they weren't even thinking anybody was going to get an ace, right? They were like, an ace, and they had promised to give me a basket to anyone acing. So I had to hound until I got a basket. I got that basket.
And you got a
I
basket.
got a little basket in the kitchen, one of the first mini baskets I got at the.
Oh, not even a big basket.
No, it was supposed to be a big basket. I got downgraded. So if you see Bob Lakely, give him a smack in the head for me.
But still, getting an ace in your first,
Oh, yeah,
this was what, 81? Is that what you said?
1980.
1980.
That-
So
that's their-
I guess the
one of
question
one of
is, the course went in the ground in 1980.
Yes,
How soon after the course was planted in the ground
I think
before you
it went
played?
in, I think it was only a couple weeks or a week or something like that. It had just dropped, the last basket and he gave me a call and he said, you gotta come down, and play the tournament. Cause I already played the Canadian Open already. And now this was, the first time there was a separate golf tournament because everything was involved with the Canadian Open, DEC and throw, run and catch, MTA, most time aloft and that kind of stuff, right?
That's actually one interesting point is that
And freestyle.
for most disc golfers, all other Frisbee sports are unrelated, but back then, everybody played
Oh, yeah,
together.
the overall,
the overall
like
events.
when you were the overall king, you were the king, because you could play everything, right?
But it wasn't until the establishment of the course in the ground
Right.
that you started to see the divergence of like people just becoming disc golfers.
Right, and that was
And then the rest of you guys.
18-hole golf course in Canada, and the first one was Vancouver, but it was only a 9-hole course.
Okay,
That was the first in Canada.
so the island holds the distinction of
it's
the
the
first
first
18-hole
18-hole.
golf course. And you know what? I'm gonna
Nice.
trust this recollection because what you can't see here and what is not reflected are the vaults of information and memorabilia that he has. And his memory even still
Yeah,
after
I
all
don't
these
know,
years.
I couldn't tell you my postal code, but I can tell you what happened, the mole number of a disc from 1978.
Well, okay, so what was the date? What was the date of the installation? You said that it happened a couple weeks before that tournament. When did that go in?
It was the end of the summer
Of 1980.
of 1980.
So
Of
like
1980.
now.
Right about
So
now,
42 years ago.
42
And so
years.
was that, and then
Yeah,
Paul
Dave-
kind of filled me in. Paul filled me in on some of the history of the island the other day. And I mean, I know about some of the people that live on Ward's Island and things like that.
I used
But
to live on Ward's Island also for
why don't
5
you shed a little bit of light on all of that and how that all came to be in terms of how, because like Paul and I were talking about this the other day, and I've had a friend tell me lots of different, well, he told me a bunch of times, but it's been, 30 years ago since I haven't even seen him in a long time. However, he said, when you're going to put a course in, you don't ever go for the flagship park. And to me, that looks like the flagship park of Toronto,
At
but
the
it might
time-
not have been, that might not have been the case in 80 whenever you guys put that course in.
Now, you might have thought it was a flagship spot, but most of the most used spots on the island was Center Island, Olympic Island, Hanlon's Point, all the beaches, right? Those were the hot
Right,
spots.
right.
That spot there was kind of a spot where you walk from Center Island towards Island. Like, like people didn't really hang out. They had a few picnics there and stuff, but it was unused land. Really.
Well, and also there were hardly any trees there too. I
Oh, no, there was a
remember-
lot of trees.
But there was huge expanses.
There
Where
was some huge
I have a
trees on the
picture of
course as
me
well.
in like 78
Okay.
playing fetch or catch with a German Shepherd.
On
Basically where hole number 2 is now, that little stretch.
Right.
And there were like tiny little trees. Like
the
little-
trees did get
know?
bigger because we used to on Freddie Lake, but we call this one hole.
Oh, yeah. Freddie Laker. Everyone knows Freddie Laker,
I know
right?
Freddie Laker.
We actually named it that when the flights were going.
Were they taking off? Were they landing in Toronto?
Oh,
In the
yeah,
water?
when the
Right
flights,
there?
yeah, that's why we named it Freddie Lake.
Okay, for
because
those of
we
you-
shank our shots and it would hook, into the lake, right? Because the trees hadn't grown that big. And that's
we-
what we call it Freddie
Well, we
Lake.
got to explain that just first of all, the reference, Freddie Laker, this guy, Freddie, he was knighted, I believe,
Right.
and he started an airline, like a discount airline
The
company.
first,
And I think it was called Laker Airlines,
yes,
wasn't it?
Laker Airlines.
And a couple planes took a watery landing. And so that became when that hole first went in the ground, nobody threw the straight shot. They threw out over the boardwalk because there was very little screening that way. And that was just a natural shot. So if you get back then, of course, before the beveled edge,
Right.
you would have
before
discs that would
the-
flip over easily and they would land in the water, just like Freddie Laker
before all the-
Airlines.
Before the Kitty Hawks and the Van Hughes, remember those discs?
Remember, dude, I got involved in '93
Well,
again.
the
you're
Kitty
asking me to
Hawks,
remember
those
stuff.
were like-
I know what he's talking about.
I
There was
know
a
what
lot of
you're
people.
talking about, but I don't know what
A lot of
better.
people threw him down here still back then when I got in.
Yeah, the first Kitty Hawk, I was like all excited. I remember it was
That was
white stripes on it, blue stripes. Remember? That's how it looked.
the McClellan brothers loved them Kitty Hawks.
Oh,
Mitch
yeah.
Mack, pretty kitty,
I
pretty
remember them.
kitty. You know,
I remember
they
both
used to
on
fall
it.
in love with those.
One of the
Mitch
tournaments.
Mack especially. He fell in love with a bunch of Kitty Hawks.
Kitty
And like
Hawks.
the Fritz guys just east of
Remember
me,
the Van Hughes?
they used to throw those too.
Yeah, those are pretty nice.
So on that hole, Freddie Laker, how many did you throw into the water? How many did you lose into the
Are you
water?
kidding me? This should be arrested for polluting the lake.
For
or something.
littering.
This time in my career, But I've donated this in all the different spots, the channel, the water hole.
But it seems to me with that hole in particular, when I first started,
Everybody threw it.
I remember there was still a viable option. It was a smaller window, but you could still throw it out over and have it come, you know.
Right.
the
But
big
if you
house
flip it,
by
it depends
house.
on which way the wind was
Oh,
blowing.
yeah,
If the wind
no.
was coming in out of the gap,
Well, you remember, Mace, where that hole is, the wind, that's where the kind of island's at its narrowest.
Oh yeah.
that the
But
wind-
I don't think I've ever played it where you had enough, where, I mean, like there was even any consideration of going to the outside. From like maybe if some of the superhuman kids that are around right now they might think about that kind of thing, but
in those days, there
yeah,
was
I never qualified for that.
John Blakely, like Bob's brother. He was a Canadian champ, Bob Blakely, and John Blakely was the Canadian junior champ that went down to the Worlds in '76 and stuff like that, right? And this guy could throw a lid so far, it was incredible.
Wow.
He used to be able to throw it right up to the first hole with a lid. No one else could do that. He was the only guy that could do that. No one
With a
could throw
lid,
a
that's a special magic.
with a
there.
lid.
Where was the
With a-
Worlds in '76?
Do you remember where the worlds were? 76?
I could look it up. I got the magazines there.
He's got the, okay, go get a magazine while you're, this is
amazing.
amazing what he's got here. Let's bring some material.
I
up.
got all
Let's-
the Frisbee
look at
worlds. I
this.
got all the
So we got
information from
Frisbee World. Look at this. This is,
'79.
what move is that? What move is that?
That's the chair, a jumping chair.
The jumping chair. There's the back.
There's one of the guys I saw on my first time freestyle. Washington Square Wizards out of New York. He played with Jeff
Washington.
Feldbaum, and they won the world championships that year.
The price for the January to February 1979 issue is $1.
$1. Nice.
Deep.
I was gonna aim lower.
Now, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a typical Frisbee van dwelling tour member right there.
Oh, that's
There
the
you
area.
go.
Glorious,
That's the area.
glorious age of follicular development.
My first freestyle partner ran into these guys on a plane, and he gave them a Aries Mini, which I still have to this day. In my box of minis, hundreds of minis.
Now, speaking of which, let's see if we can find an image of our dear host here from back in the day.
Still
Oh,
good looking though. I was still good looking back then.
no, I don't know where that went to. I'm gonna have to be looking for that. You're lucky I can't find it right away.
thank God.
Yeah,
And I took pictures too. I took pictures of that tournament in '79. So I got some of the old guys. I took it down to the freestyle championships in New York a few years ago, and all the guys were pointing themselves out as younger men.
oh man.
Kevin Sparkman and all those guys. Right?
See the amount of archival material
I
that
got
you've
it.
got just right here alone
That's only a
is
bit of
historical,
stuff I
but that's
pulled
just a fraction of the vaults. I know that if ever anybody discovers this video, if they're watching us right now streaming, they're probably salivating at just thoughts of like,
Next time you come up to visit us, come and visit me.
there you go. It's like a big
Yeah,
Scrooge McDuck type vault filled with plastic.
I used to keep it at my dad's house there for 20 years, and he had this extra bedroom. I just throw all my discs in there, right? And I just left him there for like 20 years. And I went back out, brought him home again, right? I remember trading Bob Blakely for this 1980 Rose Bowl bag here. That was the cooler bag they sold at the Rose Bowl.
Look at that. I don't know if you can see that back there.
1980
Actually,
Rose Bowl.
Let's see if we can, maybe we can do a little. I don't know.
I've
keep
heard a
it
lot of
there.
stories about that.
Keep it there.
Steady Ed,
There's the steady Ed. There's the-
1980.
Oh, look at this. What is this? Flying eye disc
Ken Kleinmo.
with the Ken Kleinmo's
autograph.
autograph, maybe a
He's a
shark,
nice guy.
maybe, we're not quite sure. There's, I don't know if you can see that.
1977 Canadian Open here.
Canadian Open. Look at these, look at
Oh.
these. I don't know if you, how's the light? Can you see that?
Yeah, yeah, that's cool.
Not pairs. What year is that one? This
86.
1986.
That's the only year I was hot.
And this, There you go. The only year he was on. I don't know, from like that picture in 81 though. Which one's this one?
That's 1973 Canadian Open. That's the second Canadian tournament ever.
Now this picture.
All right, so talk about that right there. Is
What's
that
that?
going towards? You think that's going towards? No, the boat.
Okay,
Oh, the
Ferry.
boat- oh, there, it's
Yeah.
taken from the island looking to the city.
but which part of the island?
Oh, it's
Um,
going away from the island. I see.
That's, yeah, that's center.
Center, it's going to center.
But what's interesting is you see the Sky Dome, that wasn't built until 1989, so.
Right.
This is maybe, that's 19, let's say 1990 right there. That's skyline.
And I threw a couple of these in just for all kinds of. 1957 Pluto platter.
Wow.
Yeah, and I got like a stack of flying saucers somewhere down in here somewhere.
All right, you know what, grab a pile, let's come over here.
Yeah.
This is just too much, oh, let me just show you this was one of the ad campaigns, I don't know if you can see it there. It's not a medieval torture device,
It was on
get
the,
out, find out, get into
it
it.
was on the streetcar, the Toronto streetcar. This was on the Toronto
Okay,
streetcar.
exceptional time.
Can I tell?
Yes, you can.
Okay, I was. Weekend, they did a short turn on the streetcar and I've been looking at it for like a couple of weeks. So I went up and ripped it off of the streetcar and left it.
So while the driver had to change, they stopped at the short station there at Connaught, not too far away from his home.
Pretty close to where.
The driver gets off, and in those days, it's before like the driver would jump on immediately. There might have been a 2-3 minute layover. And there you are, would you say you're trying to figure out how to open it?
Pull it down from the ad, the place where they put all the ads, right? So I was like, got my fingers in there like. Wait, kind of arrested for defacing the streetcar.
There you go.
Man in his 60s
They're
was
probably going to be stopping by here in about 40 minutes.
Probably, I'm gonna plead, I don't know, I'm delusionary.
Let's just not say hashtag Toronto, please.
Right.
Oh, I did it again. Sorry. Damn it. So where's
What's that?
grab a stack. Let's
Sure.
start going through some of that stuff. Do you have any other questions you want to ask him right now, Mace? What do you want to fire at him?
Well, it's just, I'm interested to hear about how that, like I said earlier, how did that happen? What paved the way to give you guys that land? I mean, it was just sitting there dormant, or you
It
kind of
was,
got lost on Freddie Laker there?
it was sitting there kind of dormant and, Bob Blakely and Irwin Toy, right? There was a guy, Jeff Russell, he was the premiums, guy for the company that printed up all the discs, right?
Okay.
And he decided that, they'll get Steady Ed up here, right? So I think Steady.
Was it Bob Blakely who was the driving force
Bob
to try to
was
get
kind
this?
of like a big driving force, and I'm sure Westerfield and Kenner and all those guys were right behind him.
And was it because they had a corporate kind of foothold or
They had a
patron?
corporate foothold
Is
because
that what got
they,
them to
right,
advance it
because
forward?
they were already doing like Lee Jeans that had their own truck and the Frisbee team. Actually, the good times. I got the good times Frisbee team back there,
So
Westerfield.
Irwin Toys was sponsoring a Frisbee
Toys,
team.
yeah.
They would go around
And
touring.
they were
doing demos.
awfully good sponsors for quite a few years, but I think it ended kind of in 1981. So and then they started taking, that's when the Rose Bowl went down and all that kind of stuff, right?
Wow, that's just perfect timing then. Holy cow.
Yeah.
To be honest, it sounds like
So
Bob Blakely.
That's probably why they were interested.
and Bob Blakely, I think,
Yeah.
is a big part of that because he was the one that would, he was like a social guy and, tie different community, different people together and stuff like that.
Now, when I first started, the T signs had big Orange Crush logos on all the T
Right,
signs.
so that's why they were
Who-
sponsoring.
Who was that? Who got that involved?
That was all Irwin Toy. That was
Okay.
all Whammo money and Irwin Toy money, the premiums, right?
Wow.
So they would print up all those discs, right? And they would support, that's why, when I did that Orange Crush thing, even I did the one show with, went away for the weekend. And it was the Orange Crush truck that we had. We did a few shows since high school. But Westerfield was one of the old guys, right? Because he invented the back roll. He used to call it the early 70s, used to call it the Canadian Pine Bender or something like that. The back roll in
So,
freestyle.
Westerfield invents a move in
Oh, yeah,
freestyle
He's invented something.
and then names it after the adopted country.
Right.
Nice.
He was my neighbor. I used to see him up the street all the time, like right up the street. He used to live around the corner.
Living,
And Bob
living
Blakely,
legends.
Bob Blakely used to live a little ways here, Chartrand, all the beach players who play right down the street here.
All the hippies, they
And we still
congregated on
play
the
there. We
beach.
still freestyle there. Whenever we bring a world champion in, like Jake or one of those guys, from Oregon, we take him out to the field. Dreams.
Before we get, before we end, I do want to get your talk on what the current state of freestyle is, but let's stick with disc golf for a while.
And
I asked you
and
to
I
bring up
bought this
potential-
trying to learn how to play Frisbee. It's still in a bag and it's got the Frisbee book in
Oh,
the,
wow.
in the,
I don't know if you can see that, but
it was only $7 at the time.
$7. How much do you think that's worth now?
Yeah.
If the viewers
I don't
out
know
there,
the
please
price
start calculating.
I don't know.
What
the
is it?
price
What even is it? Mark Dana and Dan Pointer.
Yeah.
But like, what kind of disc is this?
Oh, can't remember the mold. I'm sure the mold numbers. The mold number's written. So I got a Steve Weisskopf 86 putter.
Cup.
Nice, 86 softy.
Yeah.
Yeah, 86 off the air.
Speaking of Mootz's, it was his favorite.
I
It
try not to.
was. I wonder if he's still lugging those yellow ones around.
He's gotta have a nice little.
I got a couple
stash.
black ones. I don't think I got yellow ones.
So what's
There's
this?
a lot of people with black ones.
Like some new.
I think the black might have been the most common ones. Because like I've seen red ones, I've seen yellow ones. I even saw some blue ones once.
blue
Super
ones.
random.
I've never seen a blue one.
I don't think I've ever seen
Never
it.
seen a
That was
blue
my first red one that I've
Maybe
seen.
I hadn't seen a blue one. Maybe
I
I
only
just
saw
made it up.
whites and yellows. And I think I saw.
Here's a
black.
mint old champion.
What is it? Oh, it's a driver of some
Yeah,
kind.
yeah. It's one of the earliest drivers from the early 80s.
Could be a Viper, maybe.
No, it's
No,
before Vipers, I think.
not from the early 80s,
I don't know.
early 90s.
This one, you think early 90s?
No,
Well, anything that with a really sharp beveled edge probably was.
yeah, this
But if
is
it's if it's dull, it's probably from the 80s.
Okay.
What's this
It's
one?
kind of dull.
Because like the Rock and the Stingray were like what, late 80s?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then like the Whippet, like when I got started in like 91, I think 91ish, the Whippet and the Viper were the fast discs. And they
Yeah.
were fairly new. I didn't realize that. But they were like the man, especially those old sharp edge Vipers.
Eagle. So
And the original Whippet.
wasn't one of the original ones the Eagle?
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
he-
the Eagle, the beveled, I mean the fat, like the putter one.
yeah,
That was the original beveled edge disc, wasn't it? I thought.
I think so.
I got all beat up champions downstairs. So
Oh man,
I'm
I
sure I
remember
got that
losing
somewhere.
out on one of those.
I tried
But-
to find the Busby, but it was too many distance, so I gave up. I'm like,
Before we go too much further in the disc side, this is going to dovetail nicely between the discs and Toronto Island history, and something that may be interesting to you as well, Mace. Your first, when we met, and you knew I was from the island or from Toronto, had you known, and you had an image or some kind of dominant stereotype of what the island was? Had you heard about the island before coming up to Toronto?
So when I met you, man, the first time I went to Toronto, I flew up there to do a show one time, and I was already golfing, but I didn't know anybody. Like, I didn't know anybody from Toronto. I didn't really know anybody from anywhere else either. I hadn't really become the Mace Man or anything at that point. I was doing lighting and just traveling, and I had a directory and I had a bag of discs. And so if I had time off, then I would go. And there was somebody that I called from the directory, and I don't remember who it was, honestly. But I called somebody up, and I think maybe the Etobicoke was an option, but I think I was staying downtown.
Okay.
You know what? In fact, no, you know what? I was staying on Yonge Street in this high rise that I think is an apartment now. But it used to be, but it used to be hotels. And I had no idea that I was in the neighborhood or anything at all. And we were playing at Maple Leaf Gardens too. So
Right.
I did a gig at the Gardens, and I remember I remember walking downstairs, like this one area that I walked downstairs to, and then I hung a right, went down a few more stairs, and where you stop and hang the right, there's a paint chip in there that's older than anybody on here. I mean, like it was so big, and you could just see it. It was like, holy cow, how do you get to a point where you got a paint chip that big? But I mean, like the three of us could stand in it.
Yeah, right.
And you could see like the paint. You could see the pipes, the handrails. You can notice them. Like if you work, like back then I was hanging lights on pipe all the time. And so you see handrails and they've been painted so many times that it's like an unfamiliar size of pipe. You're like looking at it going,
Actually came up here to
what
do
size is that? How did that, and then you think about it, it's from 1913 probably, and how many times it's been
No,
painted
no,
since
it
then.
was built in 1930, what, 6, 37?
the Guardians.
Yeah,
Oh,
33,
yeah.
in the 30s.
Okay, well, still,
Still older than him, though.
that was like 60 years old at the time. It was the oldest barn in the league
Yeah.
for NHL back then.
Now, but when you started playing golf, had you heard of any stories about Toronto golf, like connected to
No,
golf?
not until I met you. I didn't know anything about Toronto until I met you, really. I mean, I went that one time and I had a great time. And
Yeah.
that was my first experience with metric money. And and man, I'm gonna tell you what, I rode with this cab. I flew in separate from everybody else because I was a late addition to the gig to cover from a friend of mine that we ended up going on a tour. And so I flew in and I got a cab by myself. And on the way to Toronto, he ripped me off on the exchange. He totally screwed me, he hoodwinked the crap out of me on that
There too.
because like it went his way, not my way. And but this guy did everything on the freeway that I ever imagined doing on the freeway living down here. And a whole lot of stuff that I never, like after that, I was like, all right, cool, I don't need to do that either. And I don't need to do that. And it's like weird. Like I was thinking about it today when I was driving on the highway. I nearly got to where I was going. And literally I had to cross the bridge where the accident was. But on the west side of the bridge, it was the country. And I mean the country. Like it was about 5 miles around. And then on the east side of the bridge was this brand new development that I was trying to look at for Christmas lights, and it was just one of those things where here you are. How do you end up here? Oh, you can get here. No, you can't. Anyways, I don't know how I got onto that tangent, but that was why I was late today.
Well, let
That's
us lead it
totally why I was
back.
late today. But yeah, so Toronto, like I never even thought about it, like doing a bunch of that stuff. But that cab driver, he did everything I imagined, and a couple things I hadn't thought of.
Yeah, I think I was ripped off a few times with them too. So.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
Uber, and it's all you
When I
pay
came
up
from
front,
Canada.
and if they take longer, whatever. But what many people may not know, and of course you do know, is that you can actually Google this. 1987 was the only time the World Championships have ever left the continental United States. The only time it's ever been a tournament that size has ever been here, and in honor of that, Whammo did a special. They did special runs, and I think that usually there was always, for many worlds in a row, that was an opportunity to release the new disc of the tour season.
Right.
And that disc that they released kind
They
of in support of the island, or the
regular
worlds.
Frisbees, and they also had golf discs.
They also had golf discs, but the XD was released, and I know Mace, that occupies a soft spot in your heart, but that's when it was officially kind of like, and so I think the tournament stamp from that year was on there. And I remember sitting in Honegger's office and looking at the poster. I don't know if you got a poster of the 87 Worlds, but Roots, Orange Crush, Irwin Toys were all sponsors of it. And I'm like, why didn't I find out? But Wayne's got not only, I don't know what kind of disc this is.
I got a bunch of them.
Signed by the champ of the 1987 Worlds.
Craig Hosfeld.
Now there's an interesting story there.
He came to town and freestyle with us too. He's a freestyler too, right?
Now, do you want to tell us the story of the 87 Worlds?
Oh, with Sullivan? Oh,
with everything, because you were there, right?
Yeah,
you played.
I was there. It was a great championship, right? And it was really close. And Sullivan had the course wired and stuff like that. He was the Canadian champ, right? He was really solid.
He was the odds-on favorite to win, right?
Right? And he was like right in there doing his thing, right?
Had anybody heard of Hosfeld before this?
Yeah, he was he was on the David Letterman show and stuff like that. Hosfeld.
Before the World?
Oh yeah, and he's a comedian, and he does like he's
he's
got a whole nother act, and besides the one that you've seen.
No, we all know him now, but I just wonder, was he known before?
Oh yeah, we knew who he
but was he known as a player?
I didn't really know he was that good a golfer, right? But the funny part, we watched him all the way when he was playing, and all he did, he had a walk-in putt. Like everybody else was standing, and he would just like stand a few feet behind his mark and just walk up to it, and then bam! Like, and then it was working for him, so he just kept it going all tournament, and we ended up winning it.
Wait, did he start that there, or do you think he?
I don't think he did it all the time.
Wow.
I think he was just working.
Now here's a good question to ask Hosfeld next time you see him.
Right.
Actually, next time I see him, I will ask him that. We actually got him to come up here so he can freestyle with us, and we did a video with him and stuff like that.
So, but in terms of what I know, and correct me with what I don't, if I'm wrong on anything, but after the end of the regulation, Hosfeld and Sullivan goes to the playoffs,
Right, I watched the
and 10, 15 feet of the basket every time. And mind you, this is 1987, so we still had the very first mock ones with the giant chains that like had an S hook like this,
the
so
skinny
that
old
the
basket
chain, could go the entire almost 360-degree loop.
Yeah.
Like, so it could be a wide curtain or not, and the
very
pan,
unforgiving.
the
at
pan
times.
bent out, so it was very tough to keep
Yeah,
the
very
basket in there.
unforgiving.
And it was super narrow. I mean, super shallow on top of that too.
Super
could-
shallow, like
You could
that
land
that
flat on
bent
the
out.
basket and hop over the rim.
But this guy was making all those putts.
But
I
he
couldn't
kept
believe-
making putt like longer after longer putt, right? Like
There was
a
a huge
30
crowd around
footer,
him too.
then a 40 footer. And what it would, how many holes did it go? You were there,
I
right?
forget how many holes it went, to be honest with you.
Okay, so what I've heard was 4 holes.
Okay, because I remember them playing up to where the channel was, right? And that's like almost the third hole.
Okay,
So I probably went one more. That one hole where you had to go across the tree by where the old log cabin is now.
Yes,
right
yes.
there. That's where
so
it ended.
Sully told me the story years and years ago when he was in a nice mood and when we had
He's never been
seen eye to eye relatively. But he said that
Is
that
that
was
a nice move or cracked out? Oh,
Nice
no, never mind. Never mind.
I got him in a good mood at the time for sure. Rare.
drunk on money.
But yeah, there you go. He was sated. He was happy. But he had told me that hole, it used to be, I think, hole 4.
Yeah.
There was a big 90-degree turn around the hedge that years ago, the property, maybe people don't know this out there, but the island used to be completely settled almost. Not completely, but Ward's Island leading up to Center Island. And from Center Island, it was all more public stuff.
It was houses all the way
houses and
along.
hotels out there. And then where Hanlon's was, there was an amusement park. And eventually the city started reclaiming all that land. And where the course was reclaimed land where houses used to be. And so Sully told me that on hole 4, he had got, I think, within 20 feet. Hosfeld was 40 feet, maybe. Hosfeld zing puts it in there with his little step up putt.
Yeah.
Sully puts it up to throw and it cuts through and bounces out the backside. Turns out he told me that where his grandfather's house used to be, that would have been in his backyard.
Oh my God, really?
Wow.
Wow.
Interesting.
I remember him as a kid. I was a married man already, right? And he was, to me, he was just a kid, you know what I mean? Like growing up there, living
How
in
old
this
was he
little-
when you met him?
He was just like a teenager or something. And his they would always be, where the old firehouse is, the canoe club now. They'd always be there lifting weights in their white shorts. They were young guys, you know what I mean? Like they just out,
Do you even lift, bro?
What's that?
No, it's just Sully lifting weights.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sully was like that, but he was a character.
Even back then, he was
He
definitely
was a character, but he's mellowed with age, like, oh, dude, Every time I've run into him since then, it's always been good.
You're gonna have to run far to run into him now.
yeah.
No. Oh yeah, it's Costa Rica. Is that where he's now?
No, I think it's Bermuda.
Bermuda, because he told me he built a place in Costa Rica also too.
Can I take that out of the bag?
He might have that too. But he was selling last time I think last time he told me was he was living in Bermuda.
Okay.
Or not Bermuda, Bahamas, excuse me.
Bahamas.
Bahamas, not Bermuda.
Oh, so he's part of that Kokomo song. Bahamas, come on, pretty mama. So here's another disc. Now, who is that?
Jim Kenner had this tournament.
Is that Gail?
Yep.
That's Gail
Yeah,
McCall.
Wow, nice. Went 1979, huh?
I got a whole bunch of minis too from that tournament.
In London. Now,
We drove down to London for that.
what's the connection with London?
That's where they lived, and that's where disc wrap started off, right?
And
Because I still have packaged discs that say London, Ontario. on it. That's where
Wow.
disc wrap started, and then they moved to the States. That was Jim Kenner and Gail McCall, right?
do you know the circumstances of Jim Kenner being here in Ontario at the time?
He's probably draft dodger, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of draft dodgers when I was a kid. Because I lived on my own since I was 17 years old, right? So I, seen a lot of people over the times. Over the years. That's one of the,
Oh my
that's
God.
one of the Frisbee shows.
When is this from?
That's from one of the Westerfield and McElwain. When they used to do shows, I think they even went to West Point and did a show at West Point too, I think.
Good times.
Nice.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
And this is when
Throwback.
It's cracked. I didn't do that. It's
did you
cracked.
really cry?
I didn't, yeah.
Oh, man.
Do that.
Actually, a lot of my discs have cracked over the years. I've noticed like some beautiful 80s stylers and some 70s discs.
Oh, buddy.
But I've been pretty good with them.
It's all that, that's that oil and that plastic drying out.
Let me tell you something. It's quite humid in this place. I don't know what's happening.
You like
Yeah, I don't either.
Etobicoke Championship?
Oh my God. What year was this?
77 maybe?
You'd totally be canceled if you
76
did
or
this right
77.
now, but this is from 78,
The first one.
77. The first ever Etobicoke Frisbee Championships.
Why
you
is that
play
guy
this?
so angry?
I know, he's an angry guy. He's an angry guy.
Did you?
What's
You
the
played in this?
problem?
No, that one I didn't play because I started in 78, right?
But this was before your time?
And this here is worth nothing, but it's priceless to me. Nick and Johnny D. I'll tell you the story of
Okay,
this. disc.
so here it is. What it looks like a rock,
It's my, yeah, a sea rock.
SE rock.
That's what I used to throw. That's what I
And then we
still
got on the
rock.
back. Got on the back there. I don't know if you can see that,
You're gonna love this
but it's an
story. Yeah?
ace. And look at the names that are written there. Go ahead.
In 2000, what was it? I guess 2008, right? So Sobe gives me a call and wants to play with me, Nick, and Johnny the Rockets, right? So we go out to play Farmville. Of course, I've never played before, right? So we go up to this course and we're playing we get to the and I paid I don't know, $1 or $2 to the ace fund, right? Come up to the second hole and it had OB all around, all these hits all around the basket, right? So I shot the shot OB and it came in out of OB and just dropped in for an ace, right? So I ended up winning $400 of loonies and toonies and rolled up bills and like $400. But I had to
Mostly loonies and toonies though, huh?
like $400 to win.
But see, the thing is that this was on private land. These
Right, it's
guys
on
had
private
developed
land, right?
their own private course, and they just had like anyone who played, you had to put the $1 in.
And then
So that was a measure
when you
of how
got a
many
hold of one,
rounds.
you had to leave your disc so it can go into the wall.
Okay.
So this sat there from 2008 till a year ago when a friend of mine saw that Farmview had closed and they were gonna, I got my disc back in 2021 after
Oh my God,
acing the wall
13
in
years later.
13 years later.
Wow.
And both of these guys have passed away and they were like great disc golfers from this, from Toronto, right? So
You probably met
the best disc I've
John
had.
Denniston, Johnny
Oh, I'm
Rockets.
sure you met Johnny Rock.
You probably met Mick, but didn't realize it. He was one of those island characters who
Oh,
just
yeah.
lurched in the background and usually
Yeah.
without church, just kind of
Yeah, no,
complained
sure.
bitterly in an English accent.
Johnny,
but-
was Johnny Rockets the guy that did production work?
Yeah, he did the camera work.
Yeah, camera work.
Yeah, I met him.
I actually, a friend of mine just sent me something like that. We took down the Super Troopers. I used to work for the Canadian Staging Projects, right? We took down the Super Troopers for the Pink Floyd concert in Hamilton in 1974 or 5, right? So it was and we
Old
got-
carbon arc super troopers.
It's the more. Oh yeah, I always
The stuff they don't, the stuff they don't even use anymore. Like you
I
can't,
know,
I don't even,
So
I
you
think
know
the
I'm
last
not lying.
the last time I saw one of those live was in, and it wasn't on, it was just up there taking up space.
Right.
And the,
Yeah.
there's a hotel in downtown Dallas called the Fairmont. And
Okay.
the elevator that goes up to the first ballroom and the second ballroom, that's where they hid before before Kennedy's assassination. That's where they hid his limousine.
Wow.
So because like they do, like when they do the Secret Service does a sweep, they isolate cars and stuff. Like if they're coming in somewhere,
Right.
and if they're coming here, they'll go to like the Naval Air Station and they'll get a bunch of rent a cars and they'll have them out there and then they'll do the whole check and do the inspection and then they isolate them in the middle of the field so that nobody can get to them. Nobody, I mean, like if you're seen going towards those cars, you get shot probably,
Okay.
or escorted to your free room
But
for the
at
night
one
or
time-
something like that. But that's the point. Like they had that whole, they had carbon arcs in that place, and that's the only place I ever saw one. I never saw one work though. like, when I was on the
I
business.
remember
end
those
of it.
things affecting them and stuff. And our job was to bring the Super Troopers down there, right? So it was like, and then he sent me this link from just a couple of weeks ago where it said most notorious concert in Hamilton's history. They never had a concert after that.
Really?
They get Wayne Khan down there.
That's because they were unprepared for it, right? For all these people at, washroom facilities, they didn't think about things like that, like the simplest of things, so the neighbors didn't like that sort of stuff. Right? I think they got this out of Penthouse or Playboy, that cartoon,
Oh, okay. So we got
1980
it's a
Western
cartoon about.
Championships.
There's the disc. The 1980 Western Canadian Flying Disc Championships, and then there's like, you can see this.
All sorts of silliness happening.
That looks incredible. Look at the design, look at the attention. 1980.
Huh.
And it's fresh. You don't even like
Oh, it's a fresh one, that one.
look at the glimmer. There's no fingerprint on there. This guy, I don't know how he does it.
1981, I think.
19. Oh, this is a
'Cause I've never
nice-
touched them.
look at
Keep
this
it in the
stuff.
bag.
Look at that. That's pretty cool, man. From
Yeah, that's
1981.
81, I think that one.
And this feels a little heavier too, maybe because is this glow in the dark?
Yeah, yes,
Maybe.
oh, definitely.
I can't imagine this is your.
This is the first tournament I ever went to discover freestyle. That's where I discovered freestyle.
This is where Wayne Khan discovered freestyle.
Yes, that's it.
Canadian Open Frisbee Championships, Toronto Island.
Not
I-
island, islands,
Plural, yes, thank you. Very good.
islands.
And this is the tournament that I had.
1978.
This is the
So
tournament
this-
that I
wait.
had here. Oh, sorry.
This is before the course went in the ground. Now, where and the island did they do the Frisbee overall?
Olympic Island. As soon as you come off the center boat, that's how I discovered it.
So-
They had a big stage and they had huge speakers and stuff. And Phil Cheevers was the guy that was the MC, and he was almost as good as MC as you, Paul. Almost.
Almost.
He was good.
I'll go easy on you next week, the freestyle championships.
And I had
That's
this
it.
one in September 81.
Now,
I had these printed up, and my friend, the artist, did that for me.
he's mentioned Lauren a couple times. We mentioned it through the course of the show.
Yeah, man.
Lauren is going through some tough times,
Yeah.
and we're thinking about
Getting
him
a
for
little
sure.
older and stuff, but yeah.
But
Right
Lauren,
on.
when I met them, there were the four of them, and the other two guys eventually faded away. But it was always Wayne and Lauren and Wayne, those two. You can't say one without the other. It's
Yeah.
always an and.
Yeah, we were pals for many years.
Now you guys organized
Yep.
your very first and only tournaments?
1 year after the golf course was in, I forgot
So-
it was that early, actually.
I filled with the passion of disc golf because the course is in the ground. They decided to have their own tournament.
Yeah.
And this is the stamp they go with. This is from 1981. There's
I got
no
the posters.
text. There's just a moose
I should have put the
with a
date on it.
frisbee in its mouth.
My only mistake on that.
It could be like from last year, except I think Frisbee stopped hot stamping a long time ago. But there's something particular about this disc. What is it?
I've never sold this disc, right? I've only given it to other people, other disc guys that I liked over the years, like Tom Schott. I've given him one. He's got it hanging on the wall. I
Okay.
got Brian. I've given one to you. Only like
Oh,
I've only
I'm
given a few away, right? Because I only had a few, right?
But the composition of this isn't just a white.
Oh, the heavy,
This isn't white. What's in this?
fluorescent beads. So what we used to do, we used to weigh them and put weights underneath. We used to get the triple beams out and weigh them up, and so we have the weights.
What are you doing with precise scales there, Ray? Come
That's a
on.
story for another.
No, who knows?
Honestly,
No, I don't know.
the rich history of Toronto Island.
Yeah, it's been around for.
I know
I
that
remember all those people starting though, like starting to put it.
So the whole, so the city just wanted to take the land back and leave it as a park?
Yeah.
So tell the rest of that story. Tell the rest of that story about like how there's still people there and there's not in other parts of it, like explain that a little bit more.
Okay, over the years, right, the whole island was populated, right? There was like amusement parks, and there was even a baseball stadium at Hanlon's Point where Babe Ruth hit his first home run.
first professional home run.
When he
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, it had burnt down in 1910. Or something.
No, it was in the 30s that it burnt down. They've actually burned down a couple times,
Twice.
Twice.
Yeah.
but like he was playing for the Yankees farm team, which was I
Right.
think Rhode Island, I believe.
And legend had it, he hit it into the lake. I
Into
don't
the-
know about
into the
that
bay,
story, but
yeah.
legend has it, he hit it into the lake.
That's the big Toronto
But
legend.
anyways, so, it was really populated, and then they started, the city took back the land from the people and kind of thing, but they couldn't take all the land back, so they left a little enclave at, Ward's Island on Algonquin Island, and that was it. The rest of the island went back to the city.
Tell about
That-
the human chain. Tell the rest of that part.
We may not be
Bill.
glossing over here is that they were at like it was a progressive rollout of taking down and expropriating properties, and they were moving steadily eastbound. And the residents who were still like the island followed was kind of when it was settled, it was divided into the classified or classed stratified patterns around Center Island, around the church
Yes.
was like the most wealthy area. You had some
RCYC, the yacht
really
club.
expensive hotels. Ned Hanlon, for whom Hanlon's Point is named, and one of the boats is named, he actually built a hotel over by
Right.
Hanlon's Point. It was beautiful, but the squatters were all over our wards. And when they eventually built the first airfield, where they took over the ballpark and they used to have this horse diving tower where the horse would
Right,
dive from like
yes,
50
exactly,
feet.
yeah.
They took all and put an airfield there, and all of the land that they built that they used to dig out for that, they used to form what was called Sunfish Island, but then it became Algonquin Island, and this was like in 1937 or something. And so people squatted there and at Ward's Island, and the squats became semi-permanent. Usually it used to be just people were going over for summer vacations.
A lot of those people were grandfathered in there too, right?
But yeah, this is the thing, is that when eventually the city came to expropriate, these residents who had been, stubborn, resilient, hippie type beatniks, they all banded together and formed a human wall at the bridge at Algonquin Island.
Yep.
And the sheriff had come by with
Even when
eviction
I lived there,
notices.
in the early 80s,
Yeah.
you weren't allowed to bring building materials over to.
Well, this is
So
the thing. They said,
what is
okay,
it?
fuckers, you're gonna
So
stay,
once you heard the bell,
but you can't
you
do
know the
anything to
sheriff-
your homes.
the sheriff was coming, so you'd hide your building materials and stuff like that, right?
So people had like a Blue Jay
Right.
call advance system
Right.
when the cops on the patrol
And they wouldn't
put
allow
down the
it,
hammers,
and
boys.
they wouldn't allow you to bring it over on the boat too. People would try to bring it over hidden under blankets and stuff, like wood. and
There was a
things like
long
that.
time because it was in a gray legal area
Yeah.
where no one knew, okay, the people were squatting, but who owned the land and who could establish title and all that. And eventually it took a long time, but the court settled it all and they created a trust.
Such a beautiful place though.
And now there's the Toronto Island Land Trust that basically controls who can buy, like if you want to buy a property,
Yeah.
you have to maintain your name on a list and you have to pay a yearly fee to keep your name on that list. And when the next person sells
Then
their
it's your turn,
house,
yeah.
it goes to the first person on the list,
Really? And nobody, and like regardless, you
regardless.
can't turn it down. If you say no, then you're out of line.
This
You're
was
out,
one of my
yeah.
best friends, and he owned the place. And then he just wanted to live in the city. It was too much. He was a artsy guy, right? A stagehand.
Okay.
So he always had all these shows to do. And once you're stuck on the island, the last boat's at 11:45. You got to take a
Yeah.
water taxi over, and it was too inconvenient. So
You got to be a day person if you're
Yeah.
gonna live on the island, that's for sure.
definitely, So he was sometimes we wouldn't even see him for weeks.
But
He'd go
once they eventually did set up the Island Land Trust, it created the legal boundaries, and I guess things have improved to the point where, yeah, people have been allowed to improve their
Oh, yeah,
homes,
you can
do
improve your home.
construction, and you've
Everybody-
got fantastic homes over there. like,
everybody's improved now.
amazing. I mean, they don't own the land, but whatever, you're living in
Living in paradise.
paradise.
I bet it gets cold over there.
Now we're talking. That's the only draw. It is so cold out there in the wintertime. Oh my God. And especially when that wind just blows and you wait for the boat.
Yeah.
And I always remember there was this one
Oh,
guy,
man.
his name was Klaus. And he was an older man, right, with long white hair and stuff. And he would never wear long pants. He'd be standing there looking warmer than you in his shorts on. My full coat on.
Oh, close.
Klaus, he was crazy, right?
Klaus.
Everybody knew him.
One of
That's
the
some mental toughness right there.
semi-Toronto,
Oh, he was tough. He's a tough man.
it's guys like that for whom Hugh Hood wrote the quote, "The Toronto Island is the largest unfenced asylum in the world."
That's it too.
Yeah, you've been waiting to slide that zinger
I've been
in.
waiting for a while. Yes, that's
They
true.
let me into play for a few years, right?
But you lived on the island for 5 years?
Yeah. Yeah, bro.
And with the course in the ground, were you like,
Oh, well, every day. Oh, yeah.
were you living when you ran the tournament?
No, I think that was.
No, he was dead then.
Got my wife laughing now. She's in the background. She's chuckling now. She's thinking
This
real
is
funny.
before, of course, Kaylee came into the picture. So
Yeah.
a bit more free time.
My daughter would say, yeah, she went to Portugal yesterday. Got
Yeah.
for a couple of weeks.
So basically, the reason why we're here in Wayne Manor is because he's still living in the 19th century with his Frisbees,
Oh,
and
for sure, definitely.
we're trying to do a 21st century show. But it's actually a happy serendipitous occasion
Sorry,
because
I'm
we've
not-
got all this wonderful
custom stuff.
memorabilia back there. Look at, I mean, it's a tour through the ages.
I tried to put up some stuff there. I tried to find only 80s stuff to put up there, and that kind of stuff, right?
It's
I didn't put any modern golf, this old 90s stuff or anything.
I'd still be looking if I was looking for 80s stuff.
Yeah, totally. I mean, most of the kids now are just only interested in the beveled edge variety, but
Yeah, actually, all those golf discs,
I see a
Dolan
Midnight
tells me they're
Flyer.
worth money now.
look at that, there's a midnight flyer back there.
Oh, I got a bunch of them. I got other ones down the basement too. I got.
These were just like legendary names when I started in '93.
Oh yeah, those were
I
like the
love it.
classics. You got your midnight. They were hard to get to, right? I think I had to talk Blakely when he went down to the World Championships to pick up a couple for me. I think that's the only reason I have these.
Okay.
The ones that I got, right? Because he's still always being nice.
Oh, I know a little bit about not getting discs in Toronto or Canada for that matter. Well, I know about a lot of people not getting them and me getting them in there.
I did trade him one thing though. I traded him this. Actually, this was a good trade. I wonder next time he's around.
Oh.
I got this here, and I traded him this for a Toronto Maple Leafs 1967 pendant. The last time they won the cup.
Pennant, huh?
The last time they won the Stanley Cup.
Nice. That's cool. I'd
Is
take
that
the pennant.
great? I don't know. Yeah,
that?
maybe the pennant might be worth it. But this is,
That's
look at
old.
this, there's Olympic rings on these
67.
things.
Oh, it's the Olympic ring. Meaning.
No, 67 or 76?
No, This is 60s stuff.
Okay,
The latest is 69.
he would know.
The latest is 69. That's not 70.
So here on the back, maybe this is where disc golf, Frisbee golf has.
Does it even say?
Start.
anything? I think it did say something about
There's a
this
list
golf
of
day.
Frisbee
Yeah, actually,
games.
yeah, I think so. That's like the 60s too.
Look at that. It's encouraging you to play
Golf, right?
all these games. You can play the baseball throw, the basketball game, Frisbee's horseshoes, Frisbee lag.
So much fun, Paul.
But number 5, look at that, the indoor option, Frisbee golf.
There you go.
You can
The
throw-
indoor option. So you're
Yeah,
only
that's
breaking
true.
lamps
No,
and
no.
fine china.
just aim for the
Fine
box.
China, fine China. Don't say that. Kim won't like that. I've broken a few things. Oh, boy. Oh boy.
What's the worst thing you've broken indoors?
I've broken indoors working on my throat one time and it slipped out, and I've broken a 6 foot by 3 foot mirror.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Oh
That's
yeah.
a tough one. That's a tough one to overcome.
Do you hear my wife in the background? She's like, yeah, and he still won't admit it to this day. That's the first.
We got it recorded as being live streamed. Don't worry, Kim. We got it fully committed.
My wife and my daughter come home and both of them go, they look at me and they go, what's the mirror? And I go, had an accent, and they both go to me, you were practicing Frisbee throwers, weren't you? And I had nothing to say. I was silent.
You just stood there with nothing to say, and they were like,
I don't know
Of
what
course
you're
you
talking
did.
about.
Oh,
"Oh, we know.
look at his face. He
We live
can't
with
lie.
you."
This
I
guy
can't
cannot
I'm
lie.
the worst liar.
The only people you can lie to are the cops. That's it.
I don't even know.
Not-
I just try to stay away from those guys. I'm a good boy. Oh, that was a funny day. I remember that day breaking that mirror though. I've broken many things with a disc.
Do you remember what your first beveled edge disc was? Because you were always about the Super Puppies and
Yeah, I think it was one of those early ones. I like those 70s. Remember those 70s and the 60s?
71, you're talking 71
Yeah,
molds?
those
because I used to
guys?
like that kind of
okay.
round edge, kind of
Did
heavier.
they-
Yeah, like a 70, yeah, like a 70. Like this kind of stuff here. I used to like the 86s and the 70s.
yeah, there. Okay, so
Yeah,
there's a white one there.
I think that's when would that be? Like,
Sam Grizzoffi, back Sam would show up, and that would be the only disc he owned.
well,
And he
You
would
have-
borrow Sam Grizzoffi. He would borrow. He came close. He came closest to beating Kleiman on all those 9 tries. He lost by a stroke in
This-
Arizona.
No,
But he always like so he would show up. He would show up with he wouldn't own any discs. I've known 2 different people that could do this. They would show up to the mini and they would go and they'd borrow 4 discs from 4 different people. And like he would also bring he'd bring his he had a 71 mold and he'd bring that 86 mold or whatever. And he'd keep his cigarettes, his keys, and his money in it. Like he'd set it like down like a tray, right? Like I don't remember him hardly ever. Every now and then he'd throw it on an upshot. But like he would show up and he'd borrow 4 discs and he'd beat everybody.
oh man, nothing
Like,
that
Seriously, like on a regular
follows
basis.
this and beat the person.
Yeah, we've got
I
a
love
local
that.
legend like that, Chappie.
Oh,
Chappie, yeah, okay, so he's the 3rd person. I remember Chappie doing that too.
I loaned Chappie a disc in Rochester one year, and we were both hungover to like. He thought he was going to puke on every tee, and before the thing started, I saw him leaning. I thought he was going to puke into his trunk, and he's looking for a disc. And he was so drunk he couldn't even see straight which disc. And he's like, "You got a disc for me?" I'm like, "Yeah, come over here." He just reached out for whatever. I don't even, I think I might have given him a wrong. I don't know.
Right,
It was an
right.
8 or whatever.
He
And he
threw
won the
that
tournament. He
Stingray
showed a
pretty good, I tell you that.
course record with that.
Oh, he was. I remember one time of one tournament. I can't remember. It was an early '80s tournament where they banned him from using a certain type of disc, right? Because it was one of those new beveled edge discs. And
Okay.
they wouldn't allow because it was a whammo tournament. So they told him, "Oh, you can't throw it." He was like, "Oh, come on," because you could turn him over, right? You can hook him and then swing on back, right? And they wouldn't let him use it.
What did he do?
Probably use another one to beat him anyway. Chappie.
He's pretty good. What's the story on Chappie
It's
these
interesting.
days?
That's a whole separate subculture. Those kind of guys.
Chappie was I don't know if you know this about Chappie, but he was like almost a professional baseball guy, right? Like he was really, that's where he got an arm like that.
Like fastball?
I'm not sure if it's fastball, but I know it was baseball for sure, and I knew he was really good at it.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where he told me that's where he got
Okay.
the big arm from,
Chappie.
Chappie, little secrets of Chappie.
So before we wind it up here, and thanks again for letting
Oh,
us
my
come
pleasure,
here.
hey guys. Too bad I
But-
wasn't a little more organized about it. But,
What are you
know,
talking about? Look at all this stuff you
I
brought.
tried to do,
Well, I mean, come on, dude. I gave you half an hour
Because
extra.
faculty too.
I gave you half an hour extra to work on your organization. I mean, what's up?
We did kind of drop the ball on that.
What's
but
that?
Back here. No, but I did want to talk to you.
Oh wait, hold on.
What's going on?
Nothing. Go ahead. Nothing.
One of the first experiences that I had that it still etched in my mind when the first couple tournaments that I traveled to, 1995, I went to Michigan, Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh tournament, Ohio, Western New York. And when the tournament would end, you would have, especially a lot of these old guys like Red Whittington, or
Oh yeah.
they would just pull out the B and start jamming.
Yeah.
And my first time sitting at one of these tournaments, I'm like, what are they doing? This is incredible. I'd never seen
I love
freestyle
freestyle.
before. And one of the things that was really cool about those old tournaments was it was still kind of close to the source. We've already talked about how the installation of a tournament or a course in the ground led to the split, the
St.
inevitable
Thomas,
split.
that's what led to it, St. Thomas
But
tournament.
there would still be overall tournaments that would bring everybody back
Yeah.
and do it all. But increasingly over the years, that's kind of really like it's been a dying sport, a dying breed. It's very, very rare
No,
when
no,
you
it's
see
coming back.
young guys play. But now,
Oh yeah, we got him.
now it's coming back. So I bring this all up to say, a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I
Actually,
believe,
yeah, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, Wayne texted me and he said, come to Trinity Bellwoods Park, which is just across the street from my apartment, and come check it out. Is this there it is. They made a Frisbee for this. Toronto Freestyle Summer Jam 22.
Got
So-
James Wiseman, Roger Meyer came up.
It's been
Old
since
golfer.
1989
What's that?
that there was a freestyle tournament in Toronto.
Oh,
Like at least since the early 90s.
No,
A
that's-
long gap.
Was anybody young doing it?
Yeah,
oh yeah, we got young,
Really?
yeah.
more women. playing now.
Nice.
There were a
And
couple
they
of
were
men,
on their way to Milan. They were going to Milan this week.
but the great thing is
So
like
they will-
these guys, instead of organizing a tournament where you perform and you have the grueling, 4 or 5 days, they just did all that, but
Yeah.
without the competition
Right,
and without the
awesome.
entry fee. So just like imagine a no entry fee, no competition tournament. You show up and you're
Played till,
hanging
like-
out with some of your best
We played
friends.
till like 11 o'clock at night because we had
And
the
at this
lights on
park,
too.
it's where the baseball diamonds are, so they have the huge lights.
So back to your youth.
Yeah.
Back
And
to your,
so
totally
I
back
was,
to your
I
youth.
was riding home at my age, 1 o'clock going through downtown.
on
I
your
had to-
bike,
I got to ride all the way. I rode home from that every night from that thing, man. It took me 4 days to recuperate from that. My knees are still hurting thinking about it.
but for me, like it was just so amazing to see. First of all, there was maybe 60 freestylers in that corner of the park. Not always playing at the same time because people are hanging out. I saw people that I hadn't seen in 20, 25 years. And you see young kids that are getting into it.
Yeah.
New York City, kind of almost inexplicably, is one of the major locations for freestyle. And so what's really interesting to see is that this is starting to see a renaissance.
We had the world's #1 come this time, James Wiseman.
The number one ranked. Is there still official rankings? Or is he just like the world champ?
We rank him by your videos.
Okay.
They're like, yeah, you're good for sure. You're
But-
better than him.
He was coming up with moves that
Oh
was
my
like,
God. And he loved Jolin, the
Wow.
guy I introduced the sport to, made me feel good.
now this is where I wish that we could just go and push the button, the video of Jolin riding his bike with no hands
yeah,
and
that guy's
freestyling
amazing.
while he's riding his bike.
And I asked that world champ guy, too,
Wow.
have you ever seen it, the no hands? He goes, of course. He goes, of course, the guy's never met me. He's like, of course I've seen it.
He's world known for that.
The guy, one time he could ride like 10 miles without his with no hands. And he's got that move where you can go down with no hands, where he drags one leg and he can take his bike. He showed me, I've seen this guy.
Yeah,
He's just incredible. He can
anybody out
guide us
there-
on this bike. He can guide us on his bike. You know what guidance is? You go like this, right? You gotta- That's a guidance.
don't hurt your hamstring trying to demonstrate for us out here.
problem.
Come on.
I'm
He's the
gonna be-
rubber band
I'll
man.
let
He's
You
not
got
in
it.
trouble.
I still guidance.
But it's cool to see because you guys are planning for next year.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We
What's-
wanna,
what's-
wanna
what's
have
the
the
talk?
see that.
But like what do you want to do next year here?
I know they're gonna have the Sky Stylus. They didn't have Sky Stylus from this year, so we had to print up the smaller ones. Right? But supposed to be getting the big Sky Stylus, the official size for freestyle and stuff like that.
And are you gonna
And because of all the good things that happened this year, because of it, a lot of the freestylers that didn't come were upset that they should have come.
okay?
Like Rob.
That's how
Fried,
that kind of
he's a
thing gains
former
momentum.
golfer. I bet yeah, you met Rob Fried, right?
I don't know. Have you ever
No.
met this guy, Rob Fried?
Out in New York.
Oh,
70s players. If you look in the Vancouver tournaments and stuff, they're from 79. And
older
stuff.
now. I don't know if I know him. I might have met him.
He's up there first and second place.
So essentially next year in Toronto, same weekend?
But the thing
roughly?
about these freestylers, they like golf too. All these guys, two of the guys came out of
That's
the
right.
overalls.
They actually
played
all,
Santa Cruz. Yeah.
not only were they freestyling, but they went to the island once or twice.
Right, and they had just come back from Santa Cruz a week before doing the overalls. Both those guys,
Okay.
they played golf and freestyle.
What,
And
the two young guys, Danny
DDC,
and
he even left us a couple DDC discs so we can work on our DDC game now. Double Discord for those people that don't know DDC.
there's another game that a lot of people that's really on the wayside.
I haven't played a lot of those overall games personally.
I think we're gonna revive that one.
Now, if
This
if
year.
we could see a revival of DDC, because DDC double Discord, that's a very fun looking,
Oh, yeah,
interesting,
it's fun.
very spectator friendly. I imagine.
We
Right?
even want to bring back like stuff like do some TRC and some throw run and catch and some MTA most time a lot. just for some funsies, you know what I mean?
Well, so is the event next year gonna be a little more coordinated in terms of like official events like
Yeah,
that?
I'm not too sure. They might just keep it easy going, right?
Okay.
But just add more things to it, like add like, double the sport to it, maybe have a little golf event and stuff like that. So because it's all,
Erstina's watching us like a hawk.
what's
What's that?
that?
Erstina's watching us like a hawk.
Who's that?
Frank Erstino.
Oh, F you, buddy. What's happening?
F you.
Hey.
That's hilarious. Now he's really gonna be laughing.
What?
He's been following along the whole time. A couple of local friends. Alex is following along. JJ was following along. I don't know if he's still hanging in there or not, but
AJ, okay.
Frank's our biggest fan tonight.
Thanks, Frankie. Good to see you, buddy. Well, good for you seeing us. It's
Yeah,
happening.
that too.
We're just really pleased that Wayne was able to open up his vaults and show
That's
a
the first
little,
time I've ever
a
done
little
that
bit of
in
his
40 years.
collection. In 40 years. Yeah,
I'm
right.
serious.
So, come
I've
on.
never really.
I know Joel and him have been down to the vaults before.
I brought a few boxes on the shoulder.
Come on, JJ.
No, it's in the actual.
But as you can see, just
JJ's still here. He's like this. He's still here.
we
You
didn't,
can't navigate though.
files that we didn't even get to. right
I
here.
couldn't find it.
So there's hidden
I
treasures
didn't bring
still,
any fruit out of this.
which means we're gonna have more conversations with our man Wayne here. But for now, we don't want to be pushing our limits anymore. We're gonna wrap it up. Thank you,
pleasure.
thank you, thank you, Kim, my man.
Thank you, Paul.
Always a pleasure spending
Oh,
time in your
man,
company.
always a pleasure.
I think we got some fun Frisbee stories that were told today. And hopefully it's gonna translate well to video, but
And when I see you live, I'll tell you some other stories. I'll have you laugh.
yeah, you will.
Oh, that's good. Oh yeah. No, that's one thing that you may not have known about me, but not only do I love to tell the stories, I love to hear them too. So
I love stories. That's to me, I can remember Frisbee stories from like,
Yeah, well, that's
way back.
the amount of
That's my passion.
agitation his neurons had over the 40 years of Frisbee activity.
Yeah.
And he still remembers dates and places.
Very passionate about it. Actually, I'm kind of glad I ran into this because I don't know, I've played for like almost 45 years and I still enjoy playing as much today as I did then.
This guy,
I'm serious.
that's amazing.
so we have a course in the beaches. It's a 9-hole course, beautiful, designed by Jeff McKeegan, wonderful little course. And it actually is it's small, but it's fun. And he goes out every week in the evening,
all year.
all year long, like
Winter,
coyote bedding season or summer.
I got a hole in 1 2 weeks ago.
I got a hole and they playing cold blow golf. And a lot of times without lights on discs or baskets.
Yeah, we always light up.
That's not that hard to get past.
But
You
still,
can train yourself to find
Oh,
that glimmer
yeah,
in the
look,
grass.
like he's almost 70, he's still playing at night every week. So
It's good. It's good for you.
it keeps him young.
Good for the
Frisbee
soul.
keeps us internally young. Totally.
I just bore the young guys with my stories and they all look like, God, not another one. Jeez.
They're starting to say that about me and B too.
That's the price of admission.
That's all right, boys. Here I am anyways.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mace, for setting this
Great
up.
spending some time with you and everything.
Yeah,
you.
definitely. Sorry to keep you guys waiting and appreciate your patience.
Hopefully you'll
And
come soon and visit us.
it's coming.
We'll
That's
look-
probably
We'll
it's
look after
probably
you.
very, very likely in 23.
We'll look after you. You come.
Very, 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 very likely in 23.
I look forward to
Four
it.
berries.
I look forward
That's
to
a
it.
lot of varies.
And we'll
Very.
keep him involved in the Frisbee freestyle event too, because we're gonna play golf then too.
That would be awesome if you came up at that point too, when they were doing
People would
their,
really like that.
their overall.
When is that?
Probably
I'm
end of
trying
the
to-
summer, about the same time, September of next year.
Mid-August next year.
Yeah, mid-August.
So
Hit me
let's-
up. Let me know. August is a good time for me to wander.
Beautiful. And you'll be surrounded by like-minded. people.
Sorry, I got up early today. Sorry.
No, he
Excuse
told me you had a hard day. He told me you had a hard day. I'm
All
a
right,
retired
buddy.
man, so I'm
You go
okay.
tuck in, all right there, pal?
Cheers.
All right, have a good one, guys.
Take care, man.
Buddy.
Take care of yourself.
Have a good night, guys.
That was fun, Mr. B.
Good times. Are we still recording?
Yeah, so do I just hit the end webinar or do I just kill the Facebook Live or what?
You stop recording, hit the
Stop
Facebook.
live stream. You there?
Yeah.
It's still recording.